Can a fragrance actually be too strong? That's a question that a lot of you guys might be curious about yourself. I know for me, I wouldn't think that a fragrance could be too strong when I first think about it at surface level. And that was until I got in some fragrances that I tried, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, this actually might be a little too much sometimes. It really can depend. It can depend on the weather, depends on how many sprays you use. It can just depend on what type of mood you're in. If you're just tired and maybe you have a bit of a headache, just about any fragrance can maybe feel too strong for you. So it's all kind of subjective here. But being that I have a YouTube channel and that I read YouTube comments, there's been times where I would talk about a beast mode fragrance and I would get a lot of comments of people saying that it's way too strong. And it always makes me chuckle because I'll talk about a fragrance that doesn't have maybe the best performance, and the same people will be saying that it's way too weak and it's watered down trash. So it's kind of just the age-old wise tale that you can't please everybody. But today I have 10 fragrances that in a lot of circumstances can be too strong. They can be a bit too much for me, and from what I've seen, they can be a bit too much for you as well. Just depends. So basically, if you're a performance junkie, this is the video for you. Now I will link all these fragrances down below as I always do to discounters, so when I talk about these at the price points that I mentioned, you can get them at said price points. Also, I'm posting deals on my community tab every day. That's going to be your one-stop shop to get in any rare, hard-to-find, discontinued things. Tom Ford Tobacco Oud, stuff like L'Instant de Guerlain, original formulation, like the old style bottle, that came up, Dior Homme Parfum, Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Extreme, all of that type of rare stuff. It's up over there. And I'm also doing $500 giveaways over there as well every single month, so it pays to be subscribed. Let's jump right into it though. And I want to start off with Tom Ford Tobacco Oud. Very nice little segue there. Now, this is a discontinued private blend, but it's been showing up online, 50 ml bottles and 100 ml bottles. I'll link them both down below, first and second link. You take your pick. I've got a 50 ml bottle here that I've actually put a dent in a little bit. That shows up a whole lot, doesn't it? And I also have a 100 ml bottle that's all sealed up and ready to go for me. Realistically, with how strong this is, that's all I'm going to need for a lifetime. It's a beast mode scent. There's no doubt about it. There's no way around it. It's got tobacco oud and some boozy accords in here. Not for the faint of heart. It's also a little bit animalic, a little bit funky, some might even describe it as. So this is not one to just dive into completely blind. You got to make sure you kind of know what you're in for here. Now, that being said, given that it is a discontinued fragrance and it's getting more rare, this is the type of thing that you could get away with picking up, and if it's not for you, you could sell it and get your money back and even make some money off of it. So you don't have to stress too much about kind of going into this one. I say if you've got money laying around and you typically like fragrances that are constructed like this, it might be worth a try. At least you have that security of knowing that you can get out of your purchase later on and make some money off of it if you ended up not liking it. If you do end up liking it, well, now you've scored yourself a very sought after private blend. I've seen a lot of comments about this one. People saying it's way too strong, way too much, and sometimes for me it can be a little bit overbearing as well. A little bit goes a long way. Now this next fragrance is one that I straight up do not like at all. I just really cannot get down with this one for a couple reasons. I'll talk about that in a minute, but it's JOOP Homme Eau de Parfum. So, you know, the original JOOP Homme and this one, I just can't get down with. The main reason why is because it's so syrupy sweet. Now, when I looked at the note breakdown of this, I thought for sure I was going to love it. It's got hazelnut, vanilla, tonka bean. There's a couple other notes as well that I really like the looks of here. Honey is another one. So, I mean, it kind of had that gourmand, sweet fragrance look that I typically really enjoy and I go for. I got this one in, and I gotta say, guys, I was not too pleased. It's, again, syrupy sweet to the maximum. I can tolerate some very heavy sweet fragrances, but this is too much even for me. Now, I'm not saying it's bad, okay? I just want to make that clear because people who like this will probably get offended and start typing away down below. But it's just, it doesn't work for me. And the other reason why is because it is so strong. I think if this was toned back a little bit in terms of its performance and delivery, I might be able to tolerate it. But because it's so extreme on every level, I just can't do it. Now that being said, JOOP Homme Wild and JOOP Homme Absolute are two from the brand that I do really like, and they're quite a bit different than this, but I just can't quite make it work with this one, or the original for that matter. But if you like JOOP Homme and you want something perhaps even stronger than the original, check this one out. It's not all that expensive either. Set up a little bit of a clone action. Up next, we have AFNAN Supremacy, Not Only Intense. This is Aventus meets Nishane Hasavat. So you're getting that pineapple oak moss combination here. Very heavy, very sweet, smoky, a little bit spicy as well. You know, it's much heavier and richer and sweeter than Creed Aventus and most of its other clones. That's why I kind of say that it incorporates some Hasavat in here as well, which uses a lot of oak moss and like a syrupy sweet pineapple. It's almost just a little bit too much for me at sometimes. And to be fair, the original Hasavat's the same way. I've worn that one in the summer before and I've had to scrub it off. I've told that story a few times on the channel. That one's strong as well, and this one kind of follows a similar blueprint. But it does have well above average performance, a very great performer for really not a whole lot of money. I mean, it's much cheaper than the others, but still it might be a little bit more expensive than some other clones on the market. Ultimately, it's worth it if you like beast mode fragrances and you like the two fragrances I just mentioned. Next up, L'Eau d'Issy Pour Homme or Incense by ISSEY MIYAKE. It's got incense, of course. There's some amber in here, oud, there's some rose, and some leather as well. And almost like an oud accord, even though officially I don't think they actually list it. But I guess it could just be the rose, the leather, kind of giving off maybe a animalic smell. Not really sure. But what I do know is it's very smoky, very strong, it's in your face. This does not hold back, and it's one of the stronger offerings, in production anyway, from ISSEY MIYAKE. Not saying that this is technically in production because I don't know for sure. It is available online, but I'm just talking about in terms of what you can buy right now. There's some discontinued ones that I'm sure are much stronger, but in terms of what you can purchase right now when you're watching this video, this is one of the strongest ones, and it's a really, really good performer, and sometimes can be a little bit too much. And we'll hit up a niche scent that's actually very affordable and cheaper than a lot of designer fragrances out there at discounters. MANCERA Red Tobacco. No surprise, it had to be in here. I could not feature it. Yeah, this makes pretty much every beast mode fragrance list for good reason, because it's truly and utterly straight up beast freaking mode. Yeah, this has oud, it has tobacco, a little bit of patchouli in here. There's some vanilla sweetness. I mean, this does not hold back. This one can be a little bit challenging, a little bit iffy. So again, be careful with this type of thing going into a blind buy. It's not going to be for everybody. That being said, again, if you're a performance junkie, you want anything and everything that completely destroys other fragrances in terms of performance and just lasts and projects and fills up rooms, this is like one of the better choices you can get for the price point. You're talking $90 for testers with cap and right around $100 for full presentation, 120 mil. Again, like I said, that's cheaper than a good bulk majority of designer fragrances out there. Armani Code Profumo. Big fan of this. Love it. It's grown on me substantially. I liked it in the beginning, but I love it now. That's kind of what I've talked about before. You know, you might get something in, smell it for the first time, and you're kind of been consuming a bunch of content that was hyping it up, and then you get it in and you're like, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't seem to line up with the hype that I was seeing. And then you kind of forget about it. Maybe you put it down. Maybe you even sell it. It's a similar thing for me with this. I did sell it, but I did kind of push it to the back. Armani Code Absolute came out, and then I was kind of onto that one because I didn't get this right when it first came out. And so it was just one of those deals I just didn't give a whole lot of attention. Now I've been wearing it more, been testing it more, and it's like each time I smell it, each time I get it on my skin, I end up liking it more. Has amber, tonka bean, leather, has a little bit of this root beer cola type of smell and almost bubbly, fizzy texture off the opening. Really quite unique stuff when it's all said and done. It's a parfum concentration, and again, I had to make emphasis on the fact that it's very sweet, not for everybody, and for some people it is straight up just too much. And there are times for me where if I'm not fully in the mood for an overly sweet fragrance and I happen to put this one on, I kind of get a little bit cranky and end up having to scrub this off. Because some of these fragrances can be like a pest. You spray it on, it will not go away, it will not stop bugging you. So you got to be careful and you got to plan these in advance. L'Homme Idéal L'Intense by Guerlain. Big fan of the line in general. The Eau de Parfum and the Extreme are a couple of my favorites, but this one has smoke and chili pepper, leather, almond, and it's going to be a little bit more extreme. So actually, I kind of think they almost could have swapped names between extreme and this. I think this is more extreme smelling, and I actually think that L'Intense would have better fit the other one. The other one being actual extreme, the plum, almond, tobacco sweetness. It's much more smooth. It's less extreme in terms of its delivery. Not that that matters at all. They're not going to change the names. That was a completely stupid tangent, but I'm just saying. The point is, out of all the ones in the line, this is actually, to me, the most powerful, the most potent, and it just takes it even to the next level. Smoky, kind of dry a little bit, kind of brash, it's in your face. It's still smooth and has that almond creaminess that we come to love from the brand, or from the DNA rather, the line, but it's a little bit too much at times. So do be careful with this one. That being said, it is actually one of the easier ones to get. The Eau de Parfum and the Extreme are always sold out. Same with Cool, right? If you're watching the community tab, sometimes they will pop up and I post over there. But for the most part, this one is just about always in stock on discounters. Now, this next one here is kind of universally hated by a lot of people. They say it smells like Band-Aids. They say it's horrible. I've never really gotten the Band-Aid comparison. That's not because I'm a fanboy of the fragrance. I would say if I actually smelled that, because I've said before that I could see problems with some of my favorite fragrances. So I don't get the Band-Aid comparison, but I do agree with the fact that this is by far the furthest thing from a mass-pleasing scent. From Gucci, you know it, it's Guilty Absolute. So this one's kind of interesting because when you take a look at Gucci Guilty, what do you see? You see Gucci Guilty Black, citrusy, fresh, uplifting, everybody likes it. Same with Gucci Guilty Pour Homme, same with the new Gucci Guilty Parfum. Gucci Guilty Cologne kind of went off the rails a little bit less mass-pleasing, but overall, the Gucci Guilty line is definitely going to be very widespread and just very likable across the board. And then they come out with this, and I do think it can really get people into trouble because people who've been buying the Gucci Guilties for years and wearing them for years might just YOLO straight into this without thinking about it, and they get it in, and then it smells rancid to them. I mean, I don't think it smells rancid. Again, I like it, but I'm a big fan of leathery fragrances. This is leathery, it's woody, there's some vetiver in here, some cypress, a little bit aromatic, but really it's all about the leather and woods. It smells like you're working in a tire shop. I mean, this stuff is strong, it's potent, and as I mentioned, farthest thing from a mass-pleasing scent, so be careful diving into this one. Also, it is technically, I think, discontinued, which makes total sense to me. This is not going to be a bestseller, so get one of these while you can if you are interested, but again, I caution you. And this stuff is also ridiculously strong. It's Al Haramain Amber Oud Ruby Edition, which is a clone of Baccarat Rouge 540 Extrait, which I do have, along with the EDP. Both of those are incredibly strong, and too strong at times. And what's difficult about those and this DNA, just all of them, because this is very close, they behave the same way in the fact that they are wispy and airy. So you might be inclined to spray on 7 or 8 sprays of 540, either version, and then hit the road, go to wherever you're going, an event or something, even a restaurant. And you might be sitting there thinking, you know what, 6, 7 sprays almost wasn't enough. I can barely smell myself. But everyone around you is like, okay, who is that and what are they wearing and why is it so obnoxiously strong? I mean, this fragrance is strong. It causes olfactory fatigue to the wearer very easily within less than an hour sometimes. So trust me when I say that this is projecting. People can smell you even though you can't smell it yourself, and it gets a lot of people into trouble. It's very heavy on the amber wood and other kind of transparent, airy notes like that, to where you just kind of go nose blind to it, but it's there. Now, this one in particular has almond, which is why it's similar to the Extrait version, which gives it a little bit more bite, so you can actually smell it easier. It kind of combats a little bit of the olfactory fatigue. However, not a lot. This will still get away from you, and trust me, it is strong, strong stuff. And it's kind of one of those things where when you get nose blind to it, it comes and goes and whiffs. So you might be, 10 hours into your day or evening if you're on a bender or something, and you're like, oh yeah, now I'm getting some of that 540 that I sprayed 10 hours ago, and it just kind of hits you all at once. It almost knocks you out. I mean, this stuff is crazy. And I want to end this with another niche product. It's from Parfums de Marly. It's Carlisle. So there's actually some comparisons between this and Red Tobacco. However, if you wanted to look at it in terms of Which one's going to be easier to pull off? Which one's going to be universally more likable? I would say it would be Carlisle. No oud in this one. It's more smooth. It's actually a little bit more sweet. There's vanilla, there's patchouli. I believe a little bit of a cinnamon accord in here according to the official website, but I could be mixing that up with something else. There's a little bit of a warm spiciness. This is beautiful. If I had to pick between this and red tobacco, as much as I love red tobacco, in terms of scent and wearability and everything, I would have to choose Carlisle. I go crazy over this stuff. I geek out over this stuff. I absolutely love it. I think it smells amazing. I love the creamy sweetness. It's a perfect balance between having a smooth kind of welcoming nature, but then also being just straight up beast mode and strong. Similar deal where people will get this in and it'll shock them on how strong it is, projection, longevity, just the DNA itself. It's different than maybe what you would expect from Parfums de Marly. If you're coming from Leighton and Sedley and Percival and Greenlee and the lighter, easier to wear ones, move over to this, it's completely different. Now, that being said, like I mentioned, sometimes it can be a little bit too much, so you got to be careful with it. Start off with less sprays, work your way up as needed. Just don't go into it with 10 sprays or something, because you might regret that. Or maybe not. It depends on who you are. But for me, 10 sprays would be a little bit overboard. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. 10 fragrances that are so beast mode, they're almost just too much. I will link these down below. Let me know your choices down below as well. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.